In this video, I'm going to show you guys how to replace your fuel pump in your Subaru Forester. It's located under the rear seat on the passenger side. We're going to take our fuse box cover off, and we're going to look at the inside of this, and it tells you which one is the fuel pump. We're looking for the fuel pump fuse. It's 20 amps. You're going to find your fuse puller. It's usually sitting right in there. If not, you could use a pair of needle nose pliers. You're going to pull this fuse like that. I usually put everything right in so you don't lose it, and set it off to the side. Now what we're going to do is get in the car, and we are going to run it until it runs out of gas, and then we're going to crank it. So now that we've done that, we are going to put our fuse back in. We've depressurized the fuel system. Make sure your key is out of the ignition. And we are going to disconnect our negative battery terminal. I'm going to use a 10mm wrench and take the negative battery terminal off. So underneath here, there's a seat tab. You're just going to pull it. I'm going to pick up the seat a little bit. And then you do the same on the other side. After you get this edge out, you're going to want to push in on the back and down, and then you're going to unhook it from underneath. And then you can just take the seat right out. So now you're going to get a Phillips head screwdriver, and you're going to loosen up these screws. Underneath here, you're going to see a warning sticker. That's where your fuel pump is. It's on the passenger side in the rear. If you take your seat off and you realize that there's like a lot of debris around the fuel pump, you're going to want to sweep it away, clean it up. You don't want anything going inside the tank, because when you take the fuel pump out, there'll be a big opening into your fuel tank. If you get anything in there, it's going to mess up your system. Underneath here, your fuel pump, I'm going to take this rubber grommet out just so I can move this plate out of the way. The next thing we're going to do is disconnect our wiring. I'm going to push the tab in. You might need a little screwdriver. And you can put that off to the side. Now we're going to disconnect our fuel lines. How you do that is you take the screwdriver and you pull up on these green tabs, and then you disconnect. But before you do that, you need a bucket and maybe some rags or an absorbent pad in your vehicle or outside of your vehicle, whatever you're more comfortable with, because when you pull this out, there's going to be a bunch of fuel, and you don't want to dump that all over the place, obviously, so you want to be prepared before you begin. Lift up our green locks. If you don't release the pressure in the lines initially with the fuse, you may get some fuel in it's a high pressure line, so you don't want to take these off without depressurizing the system. So we're going to disconnect these. You may get a little bit of a fuel spill. You're going to want to have some rags close by. So I'm going to put a little penetrating oil on my bolts just because they look rusty on my vehicle. You can do the same. Now we're going to use an 8mm socket, and we're going to take off these nuts. This up pretty evenly. You don't want to dump it all over the place. Again, you have your bucket next to you or outside of the vehicle if you want to travel that far. Just make sure you don't. You gotta tip it a little bit and then get that float out. Alright, so now that you have your gasket on your fuel pump, make sure your orange tips are through to hold it in place into the ring. We're ready to install it into our gas tank. Alright, so here we are. We're going to put our fuel pump in. Put the float in first. Guide it down. Hold on to your top of it. Get your lines out of the way. And lower it down. Alright, so when we're tightening these down, it's only going to be 3.5 foot-pounds. We're going to go 1, 2, just 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? If you can't get a torque wrench in to torque down the nuts around the ring for the fuel pump, you're going to just use wrist tight with a ratchet. Put our lines back on. We're going to push them on. Lock it down. Going to make sure our foam donut here is back in its place. We're going to push our rubber grommet back through. And then secure it in the plate. Once you see that it's secured, you can plug it back in. Make sure you hear the click. So now we're going to use a Phillips head screwdriver to tighten these 4 screws down. so here we are. We're going to put our seat in now. So we're going to hook in this bracket. This is the bracket where we hook into the underneath where the seat hooks into. Make sure you feed your seat belts through first. Okay. Gonna push down. That one's in. I'm gonna go on the other side. All right, so now I got that side in. Do the same on this side. It's locked in, so now I'm gonna push down. Push down on this, and then push down the front. You'll hear the click. All right, now we're ready to put our battery back together here. Put your negative terminal back on. It feels tight. And now we are going to turn the key on and off a few times to get the sending unit to get some fuel ready to start the car. All right, so now that you cycled the key and you started your vehicle, you can take it for a test drive.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.